I feel very much that your behavior and your communications, we think about getting on social media, we make an account and then we put up a profile. But when you're going out and about every day, when you're just meeting people here and there casually, I feel very much that your communication and your behavior is your virtual holographic profile that you're taking with you wherever you go. And you have an opportunity to present your profile wherever you go. And
Yeah.
when you talked about parents too, about the way they communicate, I recently, from um, one particular relationship that I developed recently, I learned through that exchange that one of the things that helped me communicate better or convey what I'm saying better was this feeling of devotion that just suddenly came down to me like a revelation. And I felt that devotion was somehow the, you could say when people talk about you have a life lesson to learn, I felt I needed to learn what it felt like to feel devoted to. But first, it took me understanding what it means to be also devoted to a certain sentiment that I may have to someone and the way that I treated it differently. And so my communication skills instantly changed. They changed the same way that I instantly changed my communication skills with preschoolers when I understood all the mechanics and anatomy behind non-negated verbal instruction. Like it just hit me like a ton of bricks. And that was what started me on this whole cognitively correct cognitivologist mission. But I have another question for you. That's something we could speak about another time. Um, um, do you think that parents generate, and is it part of the awareness that you uh, do, as Rajni and I both spoke about, how diversification is more than just an app that you download on the Google Play Store that says, I'm going to be respectful of other people's cultures and differences and stuff like that. It's actually a cognitive development process. And each thing that children learn needs to be diversified because they learn and absorb so quickly, as Rajni said. They're like a sponge. So the minute that it gets, saturated, you have to squeeze it out, and then you have to put another load of information and knowledge in it. It has to be something different. So even though it's one sponge that's absorbing, it has to get a different load up of information and knowledge and curiosity and imagination and experience. So do you include the concept of diversification as a cognitive process? Like how much do you try to help parents understand diversity in terms of, I'm asking because I'm curious too, because in India, you have a whole bunch of cultures that are under the umbrella of an Indian nation. So there's similarities to one culture to the next, and there's some similarities from one language to the next, even though they sound like completely different. If I started speaking Urdu to you and you knew nothing about Urdu and you only knew Hindi, then it would be hard, and vice versa. But there are some fundamental semantics. So as we talk about knowledge and education being more of a global issue now, then how do you see diversification in your awareness and in your counseling with parents? How does that work for you? I know I'm throwing a little bit of a monkey wrench at you, but what would you like to say about that?
Uh, in India, there is a saying: when you bring up a child, it takes a whole village to build
Right.
build a child. And you know why that was said? That was said because building a child, when there is a complete village, he gets a diverse view of the various personalities that are around him,
Yes.
various ways the way person speaks the different way. Everybody has a different thought process. When a child is in a village, and in the older times there used to be communities, stronger communities, there were joint families, and the child was much more shaped with so many thought processes. And this was kind of a diversified thinking was there. Now now we come down to nuclear families, and it's a little harder. But if you talk about diversity, what I would say is that India is a very diverse place. And as a mother, I come across this, there are certain cultural differences between religions. And, my children are taught many things, that this is the way we are. There is a certain system of a house, how you do things. And many times they come up with, this is not the way that they do it. Then I say that's what is diversity. That is what you're looking at, a different belief system, a different thought process. And there is nothing wrong with that. You have to accept that people exist who have a different thought process. There's complete the way they live is completely different. So when you give them exposure, I think they understand diversity. And I think as a parent, if you have your open mind, you can just inculcate that. And as a parent, I think you need to be a little more open to it and experience different cultures, and that can help you, inculcate that in your parent, in your child also. Rajni, I think you say something.
Here I want to ask, I'm from India, proud Indian, patriotic, defense family, education. We all talk about keeping aside all the politics and religion. We are talking about the cognitive development of the child. First, we are born as human beings. The moment we break through this thought about our culture of the family, religion, caste, creed, and we think that we are developing a human being, a child, I think every religion have self-esteem, confidence, collaboration, communication, trust, patience. So
every religion has these.
If parents start thinking it this way, that I am developing a child and these are the basics of life, I think they will stand apart, I would say, on a higher pedestal in the cognitive development of the child.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's all here in the mindset.
Absolutely. In the mindset. Absolutely.
So, do you have a question for me, Mona?
I think I
really picked your brain. So.
Yeah, that's great. I loved it.
Time for you to retaliate.
Yes. Okay, Carla, I have a question for you. Trust is a very important factor in cognitive development of the child.
Right.
What are the ways we can develop trust, patience, and faith in children?
Right. So I think all of us today touched on the trust issue and how it's inextricably linked with communication and with love and with family bonding and with both teachers and parents' support for children and their success, both in their academics and their skill development and in the relationships they have with the children and with the relationships that they can encourage the children to have with their peers, which is something more that all of us can speak about in some other type of context or future or whatever. But I hope that the whole context of trust can always be really intuitively and automatically thought of as part of the basis of everything, whether it's we are just generating a way to get started on some of our own unique abilities, whether it's about starting a new relationship, how it's relative to cognition, especially with a combination or a synthesis of those things, it really permeates the way that we communicate with others and then the quality of relationships that we can develop with others. So I think that if we have trust on our minds and in our hearts, and if we have to work on that, I know that in my life, I really had to work on the context of trust. I think I was far more trusting always than what my early development prepared me to be. And I think that that helped me to learn to really elaborate on it a little bit more exquisitely. I saw other children who I could I could tell right away, just trusted the way things would work out. And I really tried to emulate on that. I found it, even at a very young age, I found it to be like, for me, it was an invisible flowering blossom of something. And it was very magical to me. And part of what I think uh, really enlightened me to that was watching the time that parents would, some parents I saw anyway, would take to do individual time with children. It was very similar to the event that Rajni was making about the family being together and expounding on some idea that they spoke about all together and at the dinner table, and then laughing over it, and then just bonding with one another. But one of the things that we employed in early education when I worked there was we had a teacher. What the teacher assistants would take time just to do individual time with a child, whether it was, let's go outside for a little walk together. But I think that in the home, parents, I know that they're really pressed, and I know that parents' feelings matter in the whole process of the family, and the communication between parents, as you said, and I believe the type of devotion that they show to one another. Children can see this. It's like the big pink elephant in the room that other people might be ignoring, but children can see it and feel it more than anything. And
Carla,
I
because,
think that individual time with children,
Carla,
yes,
because they are more imaginative, and
yes,
they have no boundaries. Now we are
right,
setting the boundaries. So in setting the
right,
boundaries, we are
They're
actually
very,
judging
very
them for that.
perceptive. Absolutely.
right.
Very
Very perceptive. So yes, so I think that their this bond that I talk about, how do you see, do you ask parents also, just as Rajni said, the bonds are very much rooted in imaginative play, which children, they can see the invisible world very easily, the imaginative world. And so those bonds between the two parents and the bonds between parents and children, um, I think it's particularly significant if parents spend individual time with each of their children. So one parent spends time, individual time with each of their child, and then the two parents have to also spend time with each individual child, even if it's 15 or 20 minutes, because I know their lives are pressed for them. How do you think that this is significant, or am I just having
No,
a
yeah,
delusion
very
here?
significant because
I
when you spending time, you're building trust between the child and the person who's spending time. So that is a very important. I'll just move on to another question that I have, Carla, for you. Failure is mostly considered negative by parents, as everyone wants their child to come top of the class in every aspect. But failing is an important aspect of learning and cognitive development. How do we ensure that parents understand the concept and are more open to stand by the children if they fail? And what tips do you have for children to cope with failure?
This is one of those questions that
I think just a second, Rajni wants to say something.
I'm saying this is
Yes,
my favorite
Raj,
question, and the most
mine
hot
too.
question, which can be discussed n number of times.
Right.
This is the most
But
healthy question.
yeah. Oh, so there's different ways to deal with this question, and Rajni and I are very particularly concerned about this, because Rajni knows especially children in the older sector, and so this has to be dealt with a little bit differently than if we catch them in the intervention stages, in the preschool stages. So this is one of those questions that I really, really want to change on the platform of mainstream thinking where brain development is concerned. Because if we really explore this together, and I hope that we can expound upon this, because we do have to deal with this in three contexts. We have to deal with it in the remedial context, which is from 6, 7 years old forward, which is Rajni is very expert in this. And then you're with the parents on the home front. And my whole assertion is dealing with the prevention of things that we should never really have to deal with this. So the operative word really in this whole context is learn, actually, but we treat this particular question that you asked me with failure as being the operative word. And if we're dealing with early emotional, intuitive, cognitive development, then we have to change this question over entirely, because children, especially young children, if you watch them play, and especially when they get to the 4-year-old stage, you have to really observe more than sort of chase them around and guide them like you do with toddlers. But observe them, and then at the end of the day, when you communicate with them, you could say, when you're spending a little bit of 5 minutes individual times, like, I noticed today when you were playing, you did this or that. That was fun to watch, even something simple like that. But if we were observing Einstein or Sherlock Holmes, we tend to think that, Einstein just did thought experiments when he was trying to devise E = mc squared, or that Sherlock Holmes is just investigating only when he goes to a crime scene. These minds were investigating everything, every minute of the day, all the time. Einstein was hypothesizing and intuiting and questioning. They never stopped. If they came upon a stumbling thing, like when Einstein first devised E = mc squared, he had a problem with some of the math, but it was never a question of like, I failed. Now, what am I learning from this? For people like Holmes or Einstein, which is the kind of thinking that we want to move toward, their way of thinking is really, what am I missing? I'm missing something here. The puzzle pieces, there's something missing. So that's really the way that we think. When we talk about children's stumbling blocks, with young children especially, if you watch them play, you will hear them say, "Oh, that's a do-over." That's how we say it in America. I'm unsure. Kids all over the world do it, so I'm unsure what. But do it again. It's a do-over, or you get a do-over. You can do it again. Just do it again. And they never think of that as a failure. You see them play games. They say, "Okay, no, can I get a do-over? Do-over, please." They love this word, and they love to do it again. And nobody's, throwing around the knowledge of guilt or, crying tears, or, they do it again. They rewind. And so the operative word is really on learning. And the principles of learning, just like the principles of hypothesizing, or what am I missing? What piece of information am I missing here for great minds? The principles of learning are never turned off. So when you consider these aspects of do-over, the learning mind is just moving along at the same pace or speeding up for children. So we have to really treat that in the younger years in the context of learning. It's just you know what, honey? It's just a trial and error. You were doing your exploratory playing and learning as usual. So just do a do-over. Let's just rewind, do a do-over. And if we get that emotional cognitive intervention at a younger years, then when they get to the school age years, it's a lot easier for teachers to deal with, because when they can just do it, in the remedial sense, in the ways that, this is a great trial and error opportunity. So what are we doing here? And when we say that it's a great opportunity for learning, it's only because we're practicing learning every single second, nanosecond of the day. So for teachers and parents, it's a great opportunity to hone in those critical thinking skills. And it's a great opportunity for parents to really also push forward their own computational thinking skills as they observe their own child doing the trial and error and learning through stumbling blocks. Carla. Yes, so that's my answer to that question.
Carla, we say we are building nations. We say we are building a product. We say we are a budding entrepreneur, so we are building our company. We're also building the children. So why do we levy the expectations on them, which we could not fulfill, we are doing. So in building process, you do what you love. You go with that, not by burdening your children, actually. That every parents need to realize that.
Yes.
Absolutely. It's in the process, and we learn, and it is just a trial and error. It's just that we need to understand it. It's got, we can redo it. Or what is the word that you use, Carla?
Why I am making this point, because when Carla gave an example of Einstein, I am a big fan of Einstein, but not of physics, indeed. Very scared of physics as a child always, but the kind of thought process, and if you see when he was sent back home from the school with a teacher's note that your child can't learn because he was a differentially able child. His mother wrote back that if you can't teach my child, I will teach my child and show you. So there was a parent who was in making of Einstein. There was a parent who had the confidence in the child. This every parent should have in building a child.
Absolutely.
The confidence, the trust from a parent to a child does wonders, actually.
Absolutely. Absolutely well said, Rajni. It is the parent who builds the child, and this story is so famous that his mother only built completely him, and he gave the credit of his success to his mother only. And that is how, the children are built. I have a very important question for you. In spirituality, it is said it all starts with you, and we should be happy first to make others happy. Happiness is good for development of the child. What do you think? Parents need to be themselves happy to build happier children? Does self-development and awareness help us be better parents? What do you say?
Very impressive question, because I'm a spiritual person. I don't believe spiritualism, the typical meditation. Spiritualism, actually. Because when you feel something, you see certain things differently, and which is very high, of a high degree form in a children, actually, as I shared earlier also. When you ask one question from a parent, what they want the kids for their kids, everyone will say, we want our kids to be happy. But are we, that's the goal, but are we keeping our journey in line of sight of making our child a very happy and a healthy person is important, because we are extremely controlled and guided by the social norms, the genders, the equality, the structure the society has, the politics, a lot of stuff. We actually burden the child with that. Now, feeling of what we cannot do, we are aspiring among the parents. Now, I have this very two keywords for, I don't group anyone, but I've seen parents who are like a perfect helicopter parents. Or I would say there are tiger moms. So cool it up. Life is a process. It will happen. Spiritualism is a part which has to be brought in the, development process, because we have now been emphasizing on value education, but with value we are bringing life skills. Life skills can only happen when we talk about the spiritual part of mind. You channelize your energy, because things will happen as uncertainty, unfolding the stuffs. These are very important aspects. And if you are not happy, what is in my glass, I can only pour that to you. Absolutely. So if I as a parent have to be happy, happiness is basically an advantage in today's world when we are emphasizing on performance. Everyone is talking about performance. Now imagine if you have a boss who is tough on you for no reason, because he wants you to perform. As a parent, tell me, how will you feel? I'm very much advocate with the kids. I go with you. Just imagine your boss wants you to outperform. He is pressurizing you, no matter your performer. Similar state is of a child. Looking at that structure, so everyone is emphasizing on performance. Who is emphasizing on happiness? Are you happy? Your life will go on. what is the pedestal you want to achieve? The satisfaction is very important. For that, parents need to be happy first. Maybe it is a little selfish that parents need to find time for themselves also, which is missing. They are so under pressure, so much under performance, so much under working on tight schedule. They really, that affects their quality happy state. And peaceful and happy states are only a state where you can also give to your child, and it is contagious. So what you have, we talk about optimism, we talk about being optimistic. I would say being optimistic is the sister of happiness. You can only be happy when you're optimistic.
Absolutely.
Parents are what, you can't do this. Oh, leave it, you will not be able to do this. Let the burger swim. He will put some, start using his hand legs and he'll cross the pool. Let him. Learning by self is important. So it's very important that let them understand, just show them always the optimistic side, because the more they are optimistic, the more they will be happy. The burden on them about the worldly affairs or unnecessary worldly affairs will not be to them. I would also say expect effort, not perfection. Efforts are very important. If your child knows how to put the effort, he will fall once as Carla failure, twice. But he will know that which effort is working and which effort is not. There is no perfectionism. I see certain things in a way which I feel that's perfectionism for me. The way you see, the way Carla see, or any other fourth person or fifth person see, or any parent see, perfection is different. And also, I would say parents should go for a laugh therapy these days. It's because they don't have time, or at least they should sit among people who are very humorous in nature, because I believe that the more you are among the people who laugh and smile, by default it infects you. It's contagious. And some of the other,
it's contagious.
So I try to do this a lot. I follow certain things, so I always share that, because I believe in following and preaching what you actually do. So extensive research has also shown that these are the way of building a child in an indirect contagious forms. Encourage kids for all this. So by default, when you're encouraging this, you're building spiritualism. You're building. So spiritualism is related to happiness, but before it is related how much at peace you are within yourself, how much you are satisfied. Are you having a level of satisfaction? Then I would say, I'm sorry. When the moment you feel satisfied from inside, I'll be peace. I'll be at happy. Because I see parents want. I was talking to a friend the other day. Rajni, I have to rush because he has an exam. He's in grade 3. Okay, I cannot eat the food because I have to teach him. Without energy, because your body needs tonic. Your entire body is nothing. It runs on chemicals. Foods are what? Foreign substance. So there are a lot of many things actually, from the wellness program to well-being. That's what we do in the Your Soul. So for transforming your thought process, showing you a picture which you have not seen, is something which is very important in building this kind of spiritual thought process. Enjoying the moment, what is now, not predicting the future, because future we have all seen in pandemic now. We have lost many people.
It is, you never know.
Many people have come out well as a startup. So happiness is a state of mind, I would say. Having that mindset would automatically. So the moment your sister of happiness, optimism comes in, you will see every affairs of your life will be on equal stack and move smoothly. This is what a parent has to do. Building the value system and working on these levels of spiritualism. I think in that way, that will help them actually.
Absolutely. Lovely answer, Rajni. Very true.
Thank
Said
you.
that happiness needs to be built, because happier children, are much more, they are more receptive, and many ways they grow up also to be much more better individuals. Now, happy atmosphere in a home gives child a more conductive place to learn and grow. How can
Yes.
parents or couples build a more cohesive and happier atmosphere at home? What do you say to this?
See, Mona, as I told, children are sponge. They're very loving. They're very caring. I mean, they are the most beautiful creature, I believe, on the earth.
Mhm.
You need to be affectionate to a child.
Yes.
I think that brings a butterfly effect automatically in a child's life. I am loved by my teacher, children will love. I'm loved by my parents, children will love. Every child has an innocent heart. It's just like a clay, how you mold it. So family conversation time, as I emphasized earlier, also is very important. Having listen to them. Communication line of sight should be open in a way. Your tone should be in a way, because it's very tough for a child. I have seen children. I'll tell you one important case study. When I was sitting on a chair of a principal, and suddenly one day a parent comes rushing to my office and telling me that, ma'am, we were not able to find my kid. I'm not going to name, in one of the top of the schools in Bangalore,
Mhm.
and that child was in my observation since 2 months, because I know he was the most notorious. I love notorious children. They are very lovable because they are very, so it's how you check. He was afraid of anyone, no friends, nothing. But moment I used to enter the class or cross the corridor, I see him in silence. I never even utter a single word, because you are somewhere demoralizing a child in front of someone. So parents need to be very conscious when they're creating a home atmosphere, as you told, not taking anyone for granted. Not among husband wife. Do not take even for granted your child also. Now this child over a period developed confidence in me. He was once scolded in a class. He told, I do not want to speak to anyone except the principal of the school. He was very adamant. And we have never exchanged a dialogue ever in 2 months. I was just observing and smiling at him. He was sent to my office. The moment I spoke to him, okay, bache, sit, you'll have tea. I was having a cup of tea, which I offered. Be like a friend to your child. This case study was very beautiful. I spoke to him. He told, I don't have it, nothing like that. I'm like a friend. Okay, I'm the principal of the school, but I'm like a friend to you. You can have. Then he opened up. I told, what's your problem? He told, I cannot speak to anyone. Everyone scolds me. I feel disrespected among peers. I feel disrespected among teachers. I do not want to come to school. It's just because of you. I've always seen you smiling at me and never ever, questioning me. I always come to school because of you, ma'am. I told, you're gonna come from tomorrow, and every day when you enter the school, come to my office, give me a smile, a hi, and then class. I did a meeting with the teachers to understand what's the problem. There was a family issue happening in the child's house where the father was thrashing, mother was abusive, and he did not like the environment. So he did not wanted to sit at home. He wanted to be in school. But in school also, because he was so badly affected at the home atmosphere, he was not accepted by people. His behavior had a misconduct. But then there was a counseling done to the teachers. Then I called up the parents. I had a counseling with the parent. I took a consent letter asking the parent to sign the consent letter in sense that if you will use one abusive word, if you touch your child, I will take an action against you. As a second parent, as a principal, because they are under 18. You cannot. To that level, I have to speak to the parent. But the point here is the family atmosphere is tough for a child. Child will not express you if he's feeling bad. If the parents are available, you are in home, but you don't have the quality time circle. You don't have conversation time. You don't give a pat to your child. You don't talk to a like friend. Oh, come on, I want a pink dress. Okay, we'll also buy pink dress. These are some friendly conversation which one should have with a child, because gives a comfort level. Because learning, what are going to learn? We have to make them good human being, they pick up everything in life with time. What they see, they observe. What guidance you give them, they will pick up from the sort of. So relationships should be modeled that way. Not in a fit of meters as this I have to teach to this age, this I have to teach in this age. No. Therefore, go a lot of anxiety and depression. When parents undergo that, low optimism, trust, you have to build all this as a parent. Patience is, if you expect a patience among in your child, why not you as a parent? So these actually are the foundation for building self-esteem, confidence, and at a home, that's very, very important. Not take, at the end, we all are life. We are born through a source in a family. I'm bringing spiritualism again here. For a balanced, happy, and resilient person, if you want to create a child that way, you need to respect their boundaries. They need to respect ours. So the early child has to respect boundaries. Only optimistic culture within at the home front. Have common spirit. Do something where you involve child. Have a buddy competitions. Parents and child having competitions on various games. These are very, very important areas where we can create a happy and conducive atmosphere.
Child is very, very important because it is that informal atmosphere that you bond with the child. Some small game, is it Ludo, is it snakes and ladder, anything, play with the child. Very true, Rajni.
Very true. So I've learned so much from both of you today. Is Rajni, are you still there with us? Are you still there?
Your bandwidth is low, Rajni. There's showing a little bit of low bandwidth. Because of that, your voice is getting cut. Are you there, Rajni?
She should still be there. Rajni.
Rajni, are you?
I believe though she'll get back on in a sec, so we'll just wait for her. I think that we are coming to a close anyway, so
I'll just talk about what exactly I do in work home integration, because Rajni has been there with me for some time now, so she has a kind of an idea what exactly I do. I talk most about a home. We all know that home is the first learning ground of a child.
Yes.
It is the place where child, observes, learns, understands, and then imitates the behavior, learns how to talk, how to walk, as well as learns how to express his feelings. Now, there are so many civic values like cooperation, honesty. All these things are also learned over the times in a home. Now, what I have seen so much of, when I was young, I had seen so much of a wrong happening in my life. Because of that, what happens in 2014, I had a spine surgery, and after that surgery, I had to decide on my career objectives, what to do. Then I went to a school to teach. So there I was asked by the teacher, how do you build self-confidence in children? And then I said that it starts from a home. It doesn't start from a school. And because I had struggled so much in my life with self-confidence. And then I realized that nobody is talking about a home anywhere. And I decided that because I had seen so much of wrong happening to a woman in a home, I decided that why I worked in offices a lot. So I started to see how skill building and everything happened in a home. And I started backtracking to link it to a home. And there is a multiple dimensions working in a a home, like we all have all talked about, there is couple differences that happen. There is relationships, there is bonding, there is, you know, soft skill building. If you talk about soft skills like communication skills, emotional intelligence, communication starts with when you start teaching your child, you know, dada, mama, all these sounds. I think all teachers know much better than me all these things. And if you talk about emotional intelligence, empathy, kindness, compassion was shown by a mother to a child in the beginning first. So all these things have a basis here in a home. I going into do keynote speeches, and one more thing I want to say is home does not come in the productive category. Sadly, that is there in the, if you look at the United Nations Charter, that is also there. It is comes in the unproductive category, and unproductive means waste of time, which is a very sad part. And
Yes.
you know, the
But
more sad, yeah.
But Mona, home is not a place where you calculate or have the performance management.
Yeah,
Home
that
is
is what I'm saying. But you cannot have performance indicators there in a home, but it can be included as work. What I'm trying to say,
you can have the value indicator. Value indicator.
Yeah, they can be value indications of what you do. And the only thing I talk about is a mother, you know, the only thing I would like to say here, it is a long topic because there are so many permutation combinations. You go to stereotypes, gender, and power equation, and there are umpteen things we go into, and I talk about all these, but I can't do it over here. It is too short a time. I would say the saddest part I find about the whole thing is that a mother does not have the right to take the credit of the work she does for her own child. But the same
father, Mona, what is your say on father? We are talking about parents. We are somewhere missing father.
Parents. No, so I would keep gender out of it. I would just say any parent does not have, it is a man or a woman, does not have the right to take credit of the work they do for their child because it's not done for money. But the question is that it was never supposed to be done for money. In any history of mankind, a parent does not work for money. The question is that not work? Because that is a question I ask every time. If I work in my neighbor's house, then for money, then I bring up that child, then I can write in my resume that I'm a caretaker of that child. But the same work, I do it for my own child, I can't do that. Why? That is the main question.
That brings a very different interaction and a topic of a further discussions, I believe, which is very, very important.
I'm not going to say details of it because yeah, absolutely.
Carla, I would like Carla to, you know, share about the differential approach of parents, the parenting style across the globe, and also
Okay.
Almost
all right. So earlier in one of the questions that
this is a very very hot topic to be brought again. I believe that we can have another.
Yes. Okay. So earlier I mentioned in one of the questions that I think part of both questions that both of you asked me, parents are in a demographic, basically on a global scale. If you're a parent, you are a parent. So people will talk about parenting styles, I guess, very much akin to a combination of the way that they were raised, the way that they liked the way their father treated them, but maybe they disliked the way their mother treated them, or they believed in this type of religion, or they went to school in that kind of place. There's so many factors that come into what finally decides a person adopts some kind of parenting styles. And there are many names for these parenting styles. I'm going to stay away from them because psychology deals with them a lot. And at the bottom line of those is that they say, oh, there's really nothing right or wrong about the way, it's what you choose and everything like that. And I have to say that whenever I hear that, my ghetto fever comes out. So So to be nice and diplomatic and show my good profile and my good communication skills that I've developed over the years, I think that when people talk about a parenting style, I think a parenting style should be defined by a person's unique abilities to pass on their own learning experiences and their own aptitudes in being able to share their particular abilities with their own child. So when it comes down to whatever kind of relationship you're in life, whether it's a business relationship or friendship relationship or romance relationship, you're in that relationship, and part of your profile or your quality of relationship is sharing your own abilities and your own talents, your own aptitudes, your own inclinations, your favorite things. And that's why sometimes you make friends with a certain type of group of people. So I think that parenting styles really, rather than be categorized into these small classifications that have been defined by psychology, I think they really need to be defined more by our particular abilities and how our abilities are fundamentally rooted in what you would call soft skills, but what I call are the requisites for every human brain development. There are soft skills, you call them soft skills, but I like to call them the fundamental nutrients of human brain development. So regardless of how creative or diverse our particular abilities are, there's certain ingredients we all need for the full flourishing of our abilities. Just like your stomach, everybody might eat completely different foods, but the point is that fundamentally the stomach needs food. You may eat a different food than me, but the stomach needs food. It's hardly as if you can just pick up the nearest thing to, well, I'm hungry, so I'll just eat this pen. It needs to be food, and it needs to be nutrition, and we all need the basic vitamins A, B, C, D, E, and certain minerals, right? So in that same vein, I think that parenting, education, relationships, everything needs to be fundamentally defined by the basic requisites that the brain requires, because the brain is the defining factor. The brain decides what it is that we need. We like to think that we can just decide, but we have to go with the fundamental program that the brain is begging for. So
that's great.
that would,
I think we had a lovely conversation, sharing on a lot of stuffs where how the home integration should be, the atmosphere, the parenting style, what are the key factors the parents need to keep in mind, what are the boundaries parents need to set. Of course, the spiritual side of that also, being optimistic and happy.
Spiritual, very important.
A core value of anything, and we bring that within our upbringing, I think that will make a huge difference in making a child's life as a good human being. Rest comes in.
Yes, and it all, and it, yes, thank you.
Yes,
thank you so much.
For a lovely discussion. Thank you so much.
I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you very much, everyone. Yes, I think we tied together some of the fundamentals of cognitive development on these all fronts: education and parenting and teaching and integration and helping one another to open up a whole new platform. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.